Right, now every day, every week at this time, we're trying to focus on a country on the continent or a major African issue. As the continent, you'll know, is plagued by a number of political challenges on the continent. And we thought this week we would go to the Pan-African Parliament, which was set up to look at the number of issues that are concerned to people across the continent. And we're very pleased to have on the line from Cameroon, the president of the Pan-African Parliament, Honourable Roger Nkodo Dang. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the programme.
Yes, good evening.
All right, Mr. President, the Pan-African Parliament, when it was set up, was to try and get a dialogue going across the continent in a parliamentary environment to try and help change things on the continent. How do you think the Pan-African Parliament has done over the years?
Let me first of all to address my deep condolences to Royal Mandela family for the loss of his daughter and all the African people who died with Corona-19. The situation in Africa is very, very bad. Like in the world, but particularly in Africa, is very bad. Each country have some case, particular issue about this pandemic. We kill many people over the continent. And we think that before in 2019, we met in Brazzaville to talk about real situation in Africa. And today we face with a very big pandemic, and we think we need more solidarity from the people of Africa, for the donors to help the African continent to face with COVID-19.
The Pan-African Parliament is an organ of the African Union, and I just wonder, what is it that the Parliament is able to do that is not being done by other organs in the AU?
The Pan-African Parliament is the voice of the Africa. We can bring the message over the continent, and that is our role. Our major role is to lobbying to talk to the name of the population of Africa, and then try to lobby over the continent to bring some major situation, to bring the solution of some major situation like COVID-19, who is now very big challenge for our continent. So we are lobbying. We are bringing some advertise of the world was. So I think we are trying to do our best to bring the voice of the World Health Organization about pandemic.
All right. So what does that do? You get people in, let's say, Cameroon who say, who's my representative at the Pan-African Parliament? And they'll say, Mr. Dang. What then does Mr. Dang do at the Pan-African Parliament so that the people in Cameroon's voice is heard at this continental body?
Yeah, we are trying to take in consideration all the issue of Africa, and then we make a recommendation of AU. But you know now everything is down. We are now in Cameroon, we are in lockdown. So we are make a meeting only in video conference. But I think what we are doing, which is very important for us, is to bring people to call upon the donors to help Africa country, because the situation is same. It's different. One country is another, but I think we are doing, and also our ambassador of goodwill, Ambassador Chisunge, they are growing. They are making effort to bring our message over the country.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the issues across the continent, and I just wonder what the Pan-African Parliament has been able to do over time. So let's talk about not just health, which is on the table now, but there was always a concern that the Pan-African Parliament doesn't have teeth, no executive power to do anything with the things that they discuss. How have you been able to deal with that?
You know, in this case of situation, the situation we are facing now, push the country to give executive power to Pan-African Parliament. Because if you see, we need to talk to one voice, the same thing. But all the country, the political level, we don't want to bring the power to Pan-African Parliament. Oh, we need this power to take the decision over the continent. So I think now we face with one challenge, and I think we are going to push our political in each country in the political level to give the power to take the decision in the name of Pan-African, in the name of the continent. But I think what we can do now is to show our well done to the people of Africa, to bring the message, and then to lobby. It's very important to lobby so we can get more. We can make more and more providence to help a country.
All right, you talk about lobbying. The Pan-African Parliament was set up 2004. I think you had your first inauguration. So we are now 16 years later. 16 years later. And I'm just wondering, what can you point to that people can say the Pan-African Parliament did this for us? They lobbied for this and made this change, so that we feel as if you are genuinely representing us and genuinely doing things for us.
You know, when we met in Congo-Brazzaville in 2019, we take the resolution to increase the budget of the health in Africa. And this resolution has been taken in consideration in the World Health Organization. So I think what we are doing, we try to bring the continent or in all the country to do the same thing according to the people. But the problem, the big challenge we have is that since 2004 up to today, we are still facing with this problem of ratification of Malabo Protocol, who can give us full legislative power. So I think now the situation is that if we need to continue, if we need to keep Pan-African Parliament, we need to give them legislative power to take the decision in the name of all the people, all the continent of Africa. It's very important. And you, so journalists, you can help us. We need our help. You can lobby. We can make effort. We can make lobbying. We can make message. It's a strong message you can send in the country. So we need this ratification of Malabo Protocol so we can have the legislative body, and then we can take the decision in the level of the continent. Look, for example, in the European Union, they take the decision, is the common union, and when they take the decision is for 27 countries. But we have 55 countries. If we can get this legislative body, it will be a very good thing for the continent.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the conflict zones on the continent. One of the big ambitions for the African Union this year was to silence the guns, but sadly, it doesn't look like that might be possible. What role has the Pan-African Parliament played in trying to deal with some of the conflicts across the continent?
Silence the gun is very important in Africa. You know, Africa needs development. We cannot get development if we are always fight each other. And you know now we face with terrorists, and then we have pandemic, and we cannot get the development if we are not silent the gun, or if people is always sick. It's very important for us to make, like I'm saying, we need your support to get the voice, to get the real voice of Africa, so we can take the strong position. Like Africa have a lot of conflict, but what can you imagine if foreign resolution come to try to solve the problem in Africa? Africa is a very strong continent. We can ourselves resolve our conflict if we are talking about it.
All right, Mr. President, when you are in Midrand and Parliament is in session... We are calling AU for the silence of gun,
and we are going to do what we can do in our level to bring this issue, to achieve this issue.
Mr. President, your Parliament sits in Midrand and you have these sessions and I'm just wondering, some of the conflict countries and some of the governments perhaps that are doing questionable things to their own citizens sit amongst you in these parliamentary sessions. What do you say to them? How do you deal with these errant governments?
Our headquarters is in Midrand in South Africa. When we are sitting in, when we have the sitting session, we are talking about many issues of Africa. We are debate for the issue of Africa, like this problem of conflict, like problem of integration. You know, in Africa, we still have this problem of moving to one place to another, you need visa. But in Europe, you don't need visa if you are in the European Union. But now we are thinking that the real problem in Africa is free movement and free trade. If we cannot make free movement, free people movement and free trade is very difficult. So we think that we need, like you say, we need political support to get power, legislative power, and then we can take the decision who we are going to implement to every country in our continent. So we can get the same legislative in the continent and we can take the same decision, and then we can move together to look in the same direction. So one Africa, one voice. But if it is not, we are still, it's very difficult for us to move.
There are a number of countries across the continent accused of human rights abuses, very well documented by organizations such as Amnesty International and even rights groups within those countries themselves. Yeah. And one would think that the Pan-African Parliament would be their voice to deal with these issues.
You know, I am always disappointed when this human organization make the report. Sometimes the report is not true. Because if you see, for example, now we are facing with Boko Haram in the central region. When these people come to your house, they kill you, they abuse your woman, your child, and then there are no rights, there are no human rights. But when the government who is in charge for the security for the people try to push them, try to attack them, try to push them, it's become a problem of human rights. But I think this organization must do a real report to show the situation and have how the situation is become very difficult in Africa. The problem in Africa is that nobody wants to respect the law. Some people we have a big problem. If this foreign organization want to help us, they can give us a job, because the problem of Africa is the problem of jobs. But young people, our continent is very young. We have many young people who don't have a job, and these people go into terrorism and take tobacco, and it becomes very difficult to control his behaviors. Though I think we are trying to know there are some violation of the human rights. I think we are doing the best to call upon the government for the country who make the violation to become in the right way, because violation of the human rights is not good. So I think there are two situations. The international organization is some ways take one position who is not, sometimes is true, but sometimes is not correct, because we have many attacks for the violation, for the normal citizen. We have some people who don't want to consider, so to take in consideration the life of another people.
All right, so there are a lot of citizens across the continent now watching this interview, and they're very pleased to hear from the President of the Pan-African Parliament. And they may be asking the question, if I have an issue with something that's happening at home in my home country, let's say I'm in Zimbabwe or wherever, and I'm concerned about something, how do they approach the Pan-African Parliament and say, please hear me, this is my concern, this is my fear, do something for me? How do they approach you?
If there are some issue happen in Zimbabwe, in Cameroon, in South Africa, when we have our session, next session, if the situation become good, I address the invitation to come, and then you assist to our debate. After the debate, we take the resolution and we send to the country to apply, and we send to AUC to the country to take in consideration. So for us, we are not, we don't have, like you say in the first part, we don't have a legislative power to go directly. But what we are doing, we take strong resolution, and then we send it through the country by AUC. And you know the AU is the Assembly of the Head of State. So they are always, they are debating for what we are doing. And I think we are doing all the best to try to bring our voice in the certain level.
Is the Pan-African Parliament united in its cause to try and better the continent? We often see acrimonious infighting, particularly around election time when people are changing office within the Pan-African Parliament. And we suddenly start to see Francophone and Lusophone and Anglophone factions starting to form. How have you been able as President to deal with that, to make sure that the Pan-African Parliament is just that, a unified parliament for Africa?
Yes, Pan-African Parliament is a political organ. You know, in politics, it's not a problem of Francophone or Lusophone or Anglophone. But our rule is not good, because we cannot say we need a rotation and we need election. If you need a rotation, we cannot go to the election, because if you go to the election, it will be the same situation. Anglophone, we are going to vote Anglophone. Francophone, we are going to vote. Oh, what I'm trying to do is to get one president like me who is elected. If I have the two-quarter majority of the vote is good. We need somebody who can take the majority of the vote, who is not Francophone, Anglophone, and so on. But I think we are still learning. We are going to get a universal election, and I think in this level we cannot say it's a lusophone, because if you take in consideration the language, it will be a big problem, because in Africa we have only four or five countries who is lusophone. We have, I think, 5 countries or 6 countries who is Arabophone. So Arabic, we have Arabic, 5 countries, and Portuguese, you have maybe 5 or 4 countries. So I think we need somebody who can be over the language, and then we can walk in the direction of the majority, because, you know, we are still make election, friendly election, apartheid. So I think we are working to be over this consideration.
To be able to do your work requires funding, and I just wanted to know, what is the status of the Pan-African Parliament's funds to be able to function? There was a time that your parliament has been accused of wasteful expenditure, and even the word corruption has come up.
No, I don't think. But the first thing I want to, let me tell you something is, you know, every time when you make election in Africa, they are always talking about corruption. It's not true. Look, the level of the people, if the Anglophone say they are corruption, that means that the Anglophone is also the one who is not voting the Francophone candidate is making corruption. But I think we need to work to be in the certain level. We need to have the capacity of the candidate, the knowledge, and what they are doing, not to take in consideration the region. Because if you continue to take in consideration the region of the language, it will be very difficult to get president of Pan-African Parliament. But we are working in this issue to get strong. We need strong parliament. And also now, the situation, we are not elected. We are not permanent in South Africa. We are still coming. When we are going to get continental election, I think we will change the mode of designation of the president.
All right.
There are no corruption. You know, in Africa, corruption, maybe in Europe and everywhere. In America, we are talking about corruption. In election, when you make politics, they are always thinking that because you didn't vote me, and these people vote me because I make corruption. That is why. But we are trying to do and look the capacity of the MP of Pan-African Parliament. We have the former Prime Minister, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the doctor, the lawyer. The level of the human being. The human resource is very important in Pan-African Parliament. Though I don't think that how much you are going to give somebody to vote you.
Yeah.
If all these persons...
Mr. Dang, Mr. Dang.
Take your country, for example. Take how much you are going to give to jurists to vote you. How much? It's not, I think if jurists vote one candidate, it is because he thinks that this candidate is the good candidate. So I don't think that is this problem of corruption.
Mr. Dang,
I don't believe.
Okay.
I don't believe that is true.
Mr. Dang, is everyone behind your leadership? I mean, there was a time again that you were being accused of abuse of power and that you were refusing to table financial reports for the Pan-African Parliament. Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Dang, are you still there?
Yes, I hear you.
All right, I was just saying, is everybody at the Parliament behind you now? There was a time you were being accused of refusing to table financial reports of the Pan-African Parliament. Some were even saying that you were abusing your power.
No, this is the past. You know, we are in politics. In politics, you are always bring something to try to show that this person is black to black. That is what I'm saying. I bring my report. The report is not the report of the president. The report is the report activity of PAP. Who made the report? Is the secretary.
Hello, Mr. Dang? Mr. Dang?
The two stations.
Right.
No, it's not the president report. I am not. Look, for example, me. I am not the. It's not me who deal with the finance.
Right.
I am not the one who deal. It's the clerk who is in charge of finance. So for me, the report is only general activity. So how can you refuse to introduce? But you are in the situation that we are going to the election. There is the bureau. When we go to the election, the bureau resigns. So when I has been elected, I present the report. That is the problem.
Okay. All right, we have to start wrapping things up. And I just perhaps want to get a final word from you. The people across the continent are watching and they're listening to their president at the Pan-African Parliament. What do you hope to see in the coming months, particularly with COVID-19 and beyond, from the Pan-African Parliament for the people of Africa?
The situation, like you see, Africa is always faced with a big challenge. But we have a problem of development, and then the pandemic comes. So it's very important for us to do what is good for Africa to grow, to continue to develop after the COVID-19. But we don't know what system they are going to stay, because now there are no vaccination, there are no thing who can fix. But people died, and look, for example, it depends for the country. Here in Cameroon, we are trying to face, we are challenge the COVID-19. We have the last report, we have 12,000 cases, and then 10,000 are recovered. So I think there are many efforts, but we need to do first. We need to challenge first the COVID-19, and then after to see what we are going to continue. We are going to continue to work, and then to continue to call the country to mobilize, to try to do the best, because Africa now, we have many problems, many problems. Young people, and then we need our continent to grow. So we need new infrastructure to the development after COVID-19.
All right. Mr. President, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very, very much indeed for giving us this opportunity to talk to you as the head of the Pan-African Parliament and to share your thoughts with us on the continent. Thanks so much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I wish all the best, and all my condolences for the family who lost people with COVID-19 over the world, and particularly in South Africa, my country. I am the head of the Pan-African Parliament. Every country is my country, so I follow this situation carefully, and I think God will help us to face COVID-19.
Thank you very much indeed. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir. À bientôt.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
D'accord, d'accord.